in Zybooks, I gave you a main. Let's look at Zybooks and see. Here we go. And you'll notice it's read-only. So two files in here. One is the fraction class and the other is the driver. So I gave you the driver. Let's look what it does. It creates a new fraction. This is just the default constructor and prints out this default fraction, and that's to test your default. We're testing the sets here, the mutators. So a fraction has a numerator and a denominator. So we can set the numerator, set the denominator. Hopefully this fraction now is 4/5. And here we testing the gets. We tested the sets here, we're testing the gets here. And we're also testing again our toString by doing the print line here. Print line F was a fraction, so this is testing our toString. Line 20, we are testing our constructor, the not default one. So this fraction is 8/19, and here we are printing it out. That will test actually that we did create it correctly. We're going to get two numbers from the keyboard on lines 24, 25. We're going to make a fraction out of them. Then we're going to get two more numbers from the keyboard on lines 28 and 29 and make another fraction out of them. And so now we've got two fractions. One is called, what are they called? One is called 1 and the other is called 2. And then what are we going to do with these fractions? We're going to add them together, subtract, multiply, and divide. So these obviously are methods that we need to create. Let's look and see if I put anything for you in the fraction class. Just two things. We have a numerator and a denominator. So this fraction class just just records the value of the numerator and the denominator. The only methods that you have to write are the ones that are tested here. So you will need a default constructor, a constructor here that's not default. You'll need the sets and the gets and the toString for these print lines, and then you're going to need these methods here, the add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And maybe the easier thing to do is to copy all of this into NetBeans and then start creating your fraction class in NetBeans. And the reason I'm saying this is because then you can comment out at least lines 31 through 35, which you cannot do here because it's read-only, but you could comment these out and then you wouldn't be forced into writing everything before you can test it. Here you are forced to write these methods before you can test them. So if you were able to comment these out, then all you need to write are the gets, the sets, the constructors, and the toString. So my suggestion is copy it into NetBeans, work in NetBeans, and then copy everything back. And don't forget to, well, when I say everything back, just the fraction class itself. And don't forget to take the package out of there. So let's think about some of these methods. I'm not going to worry about the gets and the sets, which by now you should be fine with. What does your toString do? You have a numerator and you have a denominator. And your toString needs to print out your numerator and then a slash and then your denominator. That's what needs to be printed out. So that if your numerator is a 3 and your denominator is a 4, then what you're printing out is 3/4. This slash, so you want to print out something like this. This slash is not kept in your class. The thing that's kept in your class is the numerator, the 3, and the denominator, that is the 4. And seriously, I would do this in NetBeans and test the gets, the sets, and the toStrings, and of course the constructors before you go any further. But once you've got that done, we need to test the add. Let me go back and see what it says about the do not worry about reducing the fractions. So we're going to take care of that later. That's a big job. Right now, we're not going to worry about it. So let's go back here. And how do you add 3/4, say? I'll just put plus 5/6. How do you add this? So if this is your, one fraction, and this is your other fraction, you want to add them together. What do you do? Well, in math, you take the 5/6. Well, I've done it the wrong way around. 3/4 plus 5/6. So I need to find a common denominator. And the easiest way, because I'm not worrying about reducing these fractions, the easiest way is just to multiply these together. So if I do that, if I make my denominator my 4 times 6, then what is my numerator? Well, 4 divided by, I don't quite know how to say this. Maybe I say it like this, because I don't teach math, so I'm not quite sure how you are taught the math. Okay, so this 3/4 is 3 times 6 over 4 times 6. I'm multiplying numerator and denominator by 6, and in the other case I'm multiplying numerator and denominator by 4. And then I add it all up. So it's totally, it's 3 times 6 plus 4 times 5. That's my new numerator, and my new denominator is this. So if I have to write, which I do, my method public, it's going to return a new fraction. So my return type is a fraction. Its name is add, and it's going to take another fraction as a parameter, because your syntax is going to be something like fraction A equals f dot add g. So f is a fraction, g is a fraction. You're going to add them both together and you're going to return a new fraction. So it's going to return a fraction. It's going to take as parameter a fraction. And let's think what it's going to do. You're going to need to get the numerator and denominator from, in this case, f and g, but since we don't know that the thing is f, we do know g, we're going to need, and they're all ints, so I can say n1 is this dot numerator, n2 is g's numerator. I can't type and talk at the same time. Okay, let's get back to this numerator here. So the 3 was this numerator, which is n1. The 6 is the parameters denominator, which was d2. The 4 is this denominator, and this denominator is d1. And the 5 is g's numerator, which is n2. Okay, so that is the numerator of the fraction that I am creating. And the denominator is this denominator multiplied by g's denominator. So that would be d1 times d2. And there I've just created myself a new fraction, which I need to return. So copy these into each of your add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and then just go through this, and don't do all the physical multiplications. Just figure out how you do it, and then create your new fraction. The subtract is remarkably similar, because the only thing different here is that you have a minus sign in here. So instead of that plus sign, you would have a minus sign, and everything else is the same. The multiply and the divide are different, but I would first get everything else working and then work on the multiply and the divide. And again, this is a good reason to do it in NetBeans, because you can comment things out.